Today is an important day, guys. Today we are going to be talking about destiny, which, as you know, is my special subject. Last week I walked you through the entire system, right? Frequency first business, which is essentially based on frequency and destiny, okay? And then today we are talking specifically about the destiny offer. And your destiny offer is, of course, it's the clues in the name, right? Is inherently linked to destiny, right? But I just want to let you guys know that your destiny offer is just one expression of your destiny, okay? You can't package your entire destiny into an I help statement as much as we would like to, right? Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to start by talking about why is this important, okay? Why is this important, particularly for spiritual practitioners? And I think, first of all, right, I'm all about efficiency. I love efficiency, okay? We have a plan that we have set out to achieve, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that is exactly, okay? And it's our unique key, our special key to fulfillment. The most efficient way to get all of the things that we desire and we want, etc., right, is to be in alignment with this plan. And we made a good plan, okay? That's something really important. The other thing that I would share with you is that so much of our energy is wasted by following after a dream or a destiny that doesn't belong to us. This is actually what I got started on first talking about, okay, because the last few years have been really interesting, particularly with the pandemic, which is that people have sort of fallen into things and become attracted to things that have nothing to do with them and their destiny. And social media has a big part to play in that because we are constantly being fed and have access to other people's lives in a way that we were never designed to have, okay? And this really has the effect of moving many of us off our path, okay? And then we spend years and years following a path that was never meant for us. And then we get depressed, or we don't get the outcomes that we were looking for. And this is something that I'm really passionate about not happening to people, okay? The other piece of it is if you were a spiritual practitioner in particular, right? So you have been called in this lifetime to be aware of more than what is happening in this realm, and you are being called to help people in a particular way. That calling is very, very sacred. And it's not a select few. There are a number of us who've been called to do this, to help people in this way, because the energy here is very, very dense. Many of us come here and we completely forget why we came, okay? This game that we're all playing requires some people to remember that it's a game and to help people, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, right, reconnect to the broader why and the higher purpose. That is important, important work, okay? So if you have signed up to be one of those people who are going to help people remember, help people stay connected to something bigger than themselves, however that expresses itself, that calling is particularly important. What this means is if you are veering away from it, you have put some things in place to make sure that your life doesn't go according to plan until you start to adhere to this call, okay? You did this because it was really, really important. So staying in alignment with destiny can sometimes be a matter of life and death or health for some people, right? Depending on where you are on the spectrum, okay? So why do I want us to be focusing on this now in this time? Destiny isn't just one thing, it's multiple things, okay? In my mini course, I talk about it as being a set of potential timelines, okay? None of them are guaranteed. They all require us to do something on this side, right, to step into it. And this is one of the reasons why people dying early is so sad, right? I often talk about the cemeteries being places that are full of unfulfilled destiny. It's not guaranteed you need to do something, right? I've also talked about recently that there was a window that opened in about 2018 for spiritual practitioners in particular to step into their calling publicly, right? And so many people have resonated with this when I've said it. Many people have been like, that was me, that's when I decided to go full time, or when I started my work, etc. And they were positioned particularly well for 2020 when we all needed them, okay? Now, there is another window opening right now. Right now, And it's in the astrology, it's in the, you can feel it in the energy, okay? People are starting to get, it's almost like 2018 or 2020 again, okay? And I don't want you to miss it, because these windows, they're not always open, right? These portals are not always open. This is the time and the moment that you want to step into it, okay? Right. So without further ado, let me tell you what destiny is, because I think that there is definitely an assumption that we are talking about fate. And this is really not, this is not fate, okay? This is a conversation that you are having with your higher self, your divine self, your spiritual self, your non-physical self, about the life that you wanted to have here. And I can't really talk about this stuff without talking about why I believe we are all here. And people will have different viewpoints on this, right? And definitely have your own. But what I have come to understand, my piece of the elephant that has unfolded for me, is that we come here for two primary reasons, okay? One is to manifest, right? And what I mean by that is to take non-physical material and to make it physical, to make it dense, to take spiritual material and to make it physical, to take imagination and make it real, okay? And we want to experience our imaginations, our views, our creativity, right, in this sort of, like, it's like playing with Play-Doh, right, you know, or playing with Legos. We want to see what happens when we put everything together. And the other piece of it is we want to see what we are made of. We want to see what we are made of, if we have what it takes to do that, right? My personal belief is that Earth is not a school. That doesn't mean that we don't come here and learn lessons. We do. But the primary purpose, okay, is the primary purpose, to experience all of this, right? And so when we think about then what destiny is, it is the plan and the parameters that you set in advance, okay? So it is the plan. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that plan expresses itself, because sometimes when we talk about plans, soul plans or soul contracts or agreements, which is not my favorite language, we have in our mind something written down that's set in stone, that almost has bullet points and sections, etc., and it unfolds in this way. This is not my experience of destiny. This is not my experience in terms of how Spirit has revealed to me how this all works, okay? But we do have a plan, which is effectively like a script, like a storyline, okay? And a character that we've come here to play. And we also do have a set of parameters, right, within which many different things can unfold, right? And this is what gives us the various different timelines that we have to play with, okay? Hopefully that's not too deep, but you know, this is a mystery school, guys, right? Not just a business school. So that is what it is at a very high level. So I want to introduce you to the 4D model of destiny, right? And some of you would have already seen it if you've been in the school a while, but I'm going to explain it a little bit here. And then we're going to talk about how do you translate that into an offer that you are meant to be selling and sharing with people now, right? Your destiny offer, okay? And I'll give you some examples as we go along too. So the 4D model of destiny is based on 4 things, right? One is, and this is the most important one, okay, is desire. Desire. And when I talk about desire, I do not mean conditioned desire. I don't mean what social media gives us or our parents give us or education or religion in terms of what we should want. I mean genuine, authentic desire. When you remove everything else from you and your influences, what remains in terms of what it is that you deeply want, okay? And for a lot of us, this comes back down to childhood. I actually had someone do a discovery call with me. She didn't become a client, but she did a discovery call, and she was very set on building her offer around hypnotherapy, right? Some hypnotherapy services. And I don't really do discovery calls anymore, but when I did them, qualification calls is what I called them. I said to people, I would not work with them unless their destiny offer had emerged, right? And she was determined to work on this hypnotherapy thing. It became very evident as I went through her story and unpicked some of this stuff, right? That what she was really meant to be doing was music, right? Music. She was a singer-songwriter, and she had been like since she was really, really young. And I couldn't, in all consciousness, right, help her build something that she wasn't here to do. Okay, and this comes back to desire. So childhood can be an indication of what it is that you are meant to be doing. And so as we're going through this, I want you to make some notes around what is coming up for you in your memory in terms of some clues as to what this might be for you, right? Some clues. So that is desire. Genuine, authentic desire, right, is the foundation of our destiny. And I often say that desire is the most potent form of divination that we have, right? And there are many reasons why some of us can't tap into it properly. Okay, we've been shamed out of it, we've turned off our intuition, we've experienced trauma, okay? But if you can get back to this and decondition yourself from what other people have told you should want, you were 85% of the way there, okay? You know I love a random percentage. So that's desire. The second piece, right, is devotion. And devotion really is just another form of desire, okay? Devotion is not your desire to want necessarily, but it is your desire to give, your desire to contribute, your desire to learn, right? So if you have special interests, if you have things that you're obsessed about, if you spend a lot of time consuming knowledge and information on a particular subject, or you are dedicated in a way to a particular group of people, this is evidence of devotion, what you are devoted to. And this for me is the other side of desire, and it's such a key piece. And destiny really is all about balance, right? Because if you're only looking at it through the lens of desire and what you want, and this goes for building a spiritual business in particular, right? You are going to become unbalanced. You need both the desire, what you want to get out of something, and the devotion, what you want to give something. And when those two things align powerfully, you are on the path of destiny, right? Okay. Number 3 is your DNA. So by DNA, I mean not just your physical DNA and how it expresses itself, although that is important too, right? Your body, your appearance, your background, where you were born, all of this stuff is important, okay? But I also mean your natural inclinations, your preferences, the things that you like and you dislike, okay? Your DNA is important because remember that we are here to manifest, to make things like physical, okay? So your body is really, really important in making it happen. In fact, you have chosen for yourself a body that is going to enable you to enact your destiny, right? You have made those two things aligned. That is one of the decisions that you made before you came here, right? All of this is very, very intentional. So your DNA is very, very important, right? And then the fourth thing is what I call development. And what I mean by this is that your destiny isn't just points in time or specific things that you do. It is a narrative. It's a storyline, okay? So we're going to come on to story a little bit when I explain to you how you translate this into your offer. But what I want you to take away from development is, as I say, destiny is not fate. Okay, it's a set of potential timelines. Development offers us, narrative offers us the opportunity to say, I started in one place, but I'm not going to end in that place. Okay, it allows you to have a character arc. So if you think about a movie or a book, the main character in the story goes on an arc of development. They develop in different ways. They're not the same person that they were at the beginning. And that happens through various different ways. That happens through people that they meet, circumstances that they encounter. It happens through education, right? The skills they develop, all of the things, okay? Development, the narrative is the place where you get to decide, okay, How does this story end? What's the next chapter in the story? What do I want to do with this? A really practical example of this that I will share now, it links to what I've been saying about the transmutation of suffering, okay? If you have ever read a story or watched, I mean, all movies and stories are really like this, okay? Of someone who had very difficult circumstances in the beginning, and then they turned it around and it became something really wonderful. That is the arc of alchemy. That is the arc of transmutation. That is your narrative. That is the storyline, okay? So this is the most powerful piece of destiny if you can unstick yourself, right? If you can get over a lot of mindset stuff, trauma, societal narratives, all of the things, right? Okay, so this is the foundation of what destiny is. It's a multifaceted thing. It's one of the most beautiful things I think we have to play with and understand, which is why I have dedicated my life to it, okay? So how does this then translate into a destiny offer, right? A destiny offer, which is your signature offer that you have to offer the world, right? To share with the world, where people can come and work with you and experience some level of transformation, yeah? So this translates through what I call 7 different building blocks. And I gave you some of them last time, but I'm going to go through them all reasonably quickly here, right? So the number one thing that you want to think about, okay, is how you solve a problem, okay? And this is where, and I want you to start thinking as we go along, right, and start to apply some of this stuff to yourself. So I want you to think about what is a problem that you desire to solve, And last week I talked about life-changing outcomes, life and death problems, okay? You want to take someone from the problem that they are experiencing to the promise. This is the foundation of an offer, right? You take them from hell to heaven, so over a bridge, and that bridge is your offer, your transformation, okay? So I want you to think about, I don't want you to think about whether you have the ability to solve this problem or whether you have the experience of solving this problem yet, right? But I want you to think about what is a problem that you deeply desire to solve for somebody else. So the other piece about destiny, and the, you know, when it links to the point about devotion, is that it very much has to do with how we interact with other people. It's not something that destiny is not just for us. It's for us in relationship and in community with other people, okay? So I want you to think about a problem that you desire to solve. Right, number 2 is your system, right? So your system is going to be born out of your devotion. What are you obsessed about learning about? What are you obsessed about contributing? What are all of the things that you are interested in pulled together, right? And it's not a modality, although it can involve a modality, yeah? You want to think about what is your unique way that you desire to help people solve that problem. In fact, most people, I would say, most people who are on this path of thinking about how they can build a business around their spiritual practice or their spiritual life, okay, they have the system bit, actually. What they don't have is how that genuinely solves a specific problem, okay? So you probably have this, the system, right? And one of my favorite examples of this, actually, is I had someone come who was who did a VIP day with me, who was an occupational therapist, right? Very woo. And she did astrology, right? And the one reason I really wanted to work on this offer with her is because she had a really interesting offer around parent-child astrology. And what she was doing was combining her expertise in occupational therapy with parent-child astrology, right, to help people repair and build the relationships they were having with their children and parent better. And I just love that idea of taking a modality, right, taking something that is quite familiar, looking at people's charts, birth charts, combining them together in a particularly unique relationship scenario and bringing that together with her therapy expertise. This is like fantastic. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is your story. So this is the third building block of a destiny offer, right? So the story links very much to this idea of development that we've been talking about, the narrative, right? So I want you to think about, if you would map out your life, all of the years that you've lived on a timeline, and this is worth doing as a piece of homework actually, map out all of the years and the different things that you've experienced in each of those years. And I want you to pinpoint on where in your life have you overcome something? Where have you overcome something particularly challenging? Okay. So one of the mistakes people often make about destiny and alignment with destiny is that they feel that everything is meant to be easy. Everything is not necessarily meant to be easy. The challenges that you overcome are a key part of your story and your development, and a key part of what you're meant to offer somebody else. Because if you haven't been on the path of overcoming something, it's very difficult to show other people the way, right? And that's a big part of why we are here. So story is very important. So a great example of this, right? So some of you will be familiar with Katie Swallow Tarot. She's not a client, but I just love her dearly. And she does tarot very much focused on ancestral healing, right? And the thing that I love about the way that she shows up and she talks about it and sells it is that she tells a lot of stories, right? And they're mainly her personal stories of what she's experiencing and what she has to do, right? The things that she's discovered through, like, this is a hard graft, having to discover these things. She tells a lot of stories about her personal story. Okay, so it's a really good example of like focusing on a problem, but leveraging your story to help people with that. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is your spiritual gifts, right? So this plays to your DNA, what you were born with, and some of the spiritual gifts you may have developed as well, but a number of us are gifted right from birth. And we may have had to suppress some of those gifts for various reasons, and we may have had to unlock them later, but we are gifted, right? And so we want to understand, what gifts do we have and how have we used them to help people in the past, and how might we decide to use them to help people in the future? Okay, so make a note of these. Number 5, I think we're on, is your skills. Okay, so if you think about that life timeline, if you've drawn this out, you can mark on there all the different education and experiences that you've had. So when you went to school, what you learned, what skills you've developed, what jobs you've had, okay, because all of this is going to contribute to ways in which you can help people, okay? So think about that. What skills have you gained over time? And some of the skills are not going to be obvious, right? Some of them are going to seem quite mundane to you, but someone else needs them, because not all of us have the ability to learn all of the skills, right? We all need each other, right? So for me, a great example of this is Summon and Sell on Threads, right? And she does SEO for spiritual entrepreneurs, right? And this is what she's done historically in her background, is she's combining those things together. And I think she's going to be introducing something a little bit more woo soon as well, right? It's like leveraging your professional skills to solve a problem for a particular community, right? Okay, so number 6 is your sphere of influence, okay? And this is influenced partly by your DNA and your background and who you are, but also the experiences that you've gained in life. So think about who you are, right? Who is naturally drawn to you, and who you have been in the past, because most of the time, the person you are called to help with your destiny offer is someone you were, someone you have been previously, okay? Right? So those are 7 key things, and I want us to now think about how we put this all together, and I will take some questions at the end as well, because I'm sure you guys have got offers too. But let me show you how you might want to pull this together into a simple I help statement. Now let me say this before I show you what it looks like. Your destiny offer is more than an I help statement. Your destiny is more than an I help statement, but it's useful to have this to focus the mind on what it is that you really do and who you do it for and how you do it, okay? Now, I may do this in future videos, but in the implementation intensive with the guys on the Destiny program, we will be going through more of the components of the offer. For example, what do you price the offer? How do you determine what to price it? How do you really map out what the transformation is that you take somebody on, right? So there are more components to thinking about the offer, but this class today is really just about the what it might be, okay? So let's have a go at putting it all together. I will share my screen. Okay, so this is what I want us to think about, right? I help who the group of people is, right? The sphere of influence, go from a life and death problem to a life-changing outcome through my unique system and way of looking at the world. And this is the last piece I haven't clued you in on, which is without what? Without something. Because people are looking for not just a novel solution to their problems, they're looking to solve a problem without creating another problem, okay? So if you think about your philosophy, the way that you look at the world, which is part of your system, okay? Think about what is it that you don't want people to have to do? What is it that they've been told they always have to do that they actually don't need to in order to achieve the particular outcome, okay? So if I go back to my friend Katie Swallow, right, one of the things that she talks about is helping people embrace their spirituality without falling into toxic new age. Yeah, and all that, or following the MAGA pipeline, right? So think about what that might be for you, okay? Right, so that is how you get to the idea or some ideas that you might have, right? Let me stop sharing. So let me go back to my notes. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit now about what might be stopping you or what might stop you from stepping into destiny, okay? Because some of you know already, in fact, most of you will know and have an inkling about what it is that you were meant to be doing and what you were meant to be sharing. But there is something that is standing in the way. And there are a few things, right? One is comparison. And social media doesn't help with this, right? We keep looking at what other people are doing, and I do this. My God, I do this. I'm like, oh God, that person is doing that. Maybe I should be doing it. And then I catch myself. Okay, you are not going to find fulfillment following someone else's playbook, but you're only going to have confidence in doing that if you stop the comparison game, right? The comparison is a really big one. Dear Magical Awakening, right? She asked about shame on Threads, and I think it's such a big one, right? So one of the things I shared recently was about fully embracing the identity of business coach, right? Business strategist. And one of the challenges that I have had about stepping into this, despite, guys, being a consultant with really big companies for 17 years, okay, is that I just find the online world particularly toxic. And what that has ended up doing is causing me to be a lot quieter than I should be. And some of you will be like, Lola, I can't believe you're quiet because you thread all the time. But not showing up as fully as I could be, because I really, really do hate that industry, guys. I literally cannot tell you how much I hate it. And so even embracing the title, the identity, brought a lot of shame for me, and it's something that I had to really work through in order to step into this next phase, of which I am being called to, right, to go bigger and to do more and to help more people. So shame is a really big one, not because you don't think that what you're doing is important, but sometimes because you're afraid of the perception of other people. How will you be perceived? It is not really easy and you will have your own versions of this, but it's not easy to come out in the public online and talk about business and talk about money in a world where we have so many people who are unscrupulous, okay? You attract a lot of people who don't get it and who think that, right, you get it, okay? So you'll have your own equivalent of that maybe. The other one that you might be challenged with, and this is for my corporate folk, okay, because I really had to work through this as well, is prestige and status. Again, this is like comparison, but it's a little bit different, which is if you have been, like I know some of you guys are in the community, you have been a nurse, you have been a banker, you have been a marketing pro, you have been an accountant, whatever, all of those things. And now you're going to be that combined with spirituality, or you're going to pivot in entirely and you're going to do something really woo, or whatever, you're just going to start a business that you love, right, whether it falls into these categories or not. Some people are going to be like, why are you leaving that really amazing, prestigious thing, that thing that had a lot of status to it, to go and do this? Because the reality is the people who lived in your old world valued different things than the people who were living in your new world, right? And so that feeling of losing prestige or status might be a thing that is stopping you from stepping into destiny, okay? And then the last one I will share with you is incongruence. So incongruence is really just a gap, a mismatch between your genuine, authentic desire and what you were saying you desire, right? Okay, and so incongruence happens at the level of your identity. Yeah, so it links a little bit to what I was saying about prestige and status. But if you have a mismatch between who you think you are and who you want to be, okay, and who your destiny is calling you to be, you are not going to be able to step into this fully, right? Okay, so you are going to, if you go through this exercise, and I've got an AI prompt which I might update, but I will post it, repost it in the group that will help you a little bit with this, okay? You are going to end up with probably a few ideas, not just one. So as I was sharing this morning online, you don't just have one destiny offer, you will have a few. And you need to work out which one you need to focus on right now, okay? So you have a couple of choices when it comes to this, right? One is you can focus on what you can comfortably deliver right now in integrity, okay? Because you don't want to do anything that's out of integrity. What can you deliver now that where you have the skills, you have the gifts, you have experiences, you have a story that you can leverage, yeah? You can focus on that. You may, however, identify an offer that requires you to acquire more skills, more experience, okay, and maybe more confidence. And you can choose to work on that now as well, just knowing that it's going to take you a little bit more time. And that's okay. That's totally fine. You can do both of those all together, okay? But pick one based on your level of confidence and patience, because this is the thing. You need to start doing something now, because destiny offers create more destiny offers. This is a path of destiny, right? So you create one destiny offer and serve people. It will then open up an entire world of destiny that you cannot see now on this side of the door. Okay, so you need to step into it and continually step into it, right? So that is where I want you to start. That's where I want you to start.